So this is Facebook Live, I guess. Second time I've tried it. I'm going to set the agenda up here for a chat that has some utility, if I can. I was reading about survival tips about, survival. And a bunch of them are really cool because they're tips of what you would do if you were lost in the woods, right? And I live in woods, and I've grown up with a lot of thoughts about survival things. And of course, survival is a bigger topic as well, about how do we survive in the universe at large. This particular link was about survival in the woods. And I think what's cool is that all of those things can become activities here. Starting a fire with flint, carrying a fire from one place to another, learning how to survive if you were in a survival situation. I mean, those are the fundamentals of how we evolved, is wondering about that kind of stuff. And so it's inherently relevant. And of course, a lot of people do imagine the zombie apocalypse or various things in which they think they need, objects and tools in order to survive. And so they talk about how to do that. I'm actually surprised, I'm amazed at how many people these days are talking about how to survive when things collapse. And I feel like sometimes I'm nuts because I focus on collapse and energy resources and things. And I'm trying to design alternatives that no one is seeking necessarily. But when I see this public interest, this interest on social media, this interest in news sources at every level, in what are we going to do when things hit the fan? And the allegory for that in the fictional world is often the zombie apocalypse, which of course also has a potential metaphor for us now, because I think some of us live like zombies and some of us don't. And that's a really rude thing to say because it sounds arrogant as fuck. That's how it goes. Sorry about that. But there are people who are actively thinking and trying and working and questioning themselves. And then there's other people who are just believers. They are believers in the thing that they were told because of where they were born, where they came from. And that could be within a religious structure, a state structure, the family structure, community structure, set of values, ethics, etc. It's prison all around. So there's people who question that, and there's people who don't. And that isn't smartness. That's because there's smart people who are totally slaves and they are zombies. Although smartness correlates. I mean, smartness is not an innate quality in the way I'd like to talk about it. It's a choice. Are you going to choose to learn things that you didn't know before? Are you going to choose to question your own values? Are you going to choose to reject the values that exist all around you? Every single conformist, slave, fascist thing that society's given you, are you going to question it? Now, I'm not saying that what you believe and what you live isn't right, and that could be right for you. And I never want to come across as one of these people in the world who tell other people what to do. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I am telling you what I'm saying, and that's it. You can shut your ears off. You can block me. You don't have to listen to a damn thing I say. I have total respect for you. Maybe I don't know you, but maybe I would if I knew you. So respect is earned, and I have to earn yours by having useful thoughts, right? And so I'm not going to automatically have that with anybody who hears me or has thoughts on me. You need to prove in your life what you can do before I'm willing to accept your thoughts. Now, that's not totally true. I'll actually listen to anyone in the world. Okay, I'm not like most people. A lot of people are very blocked off in the ears to anything. I'm actually totally interested in the alternative views. In fact, I've spent my whole life on alternative views. That is all I have read. If I'm going to read about psychology, it's going to be deviant psych. Well, developmental as well. Humans are a special case. I'm a little more interested in humans. But in almost any area of perception, whether it's, animals, Bigfoots, Loch Ness Monster, UFOs, perpetual energy, any kind of pseudoscientific bullshit there is, I've loved it, if I've heard of it, and I've looked into it, and it's been a puzzle. And they all continue to be puzzles because they're popular with some people for some reasons. And in a sense, I almost feel like our entire perception of the universe is working on a set of puzzles perceptual puzzles that we're comparing, and that unfortunately there's a lot of violence involved in the ways that people interact. I'm pretty sure everybody says they're against violence, but in their actual lives day to day, they are working entirely for violence. That is what we give our energy to, and that is what we create. You figure out for you what that means, okay? I'm not trying to judge you. Back to that. I mean, I don't like even people who agree with me. In fact, the most with people who agree with me, I really don't like it when they're dumb fuck assholes. And usually I only agree with the person on one issue or a couple issues. But if people who have the same view as I do use bad facts, right? And if they attack their enemy by being rude to them, and calling them names, which I will admit occasionally I do call people names, and I'll call myself in names and stuff too, because, I fit some definitions, or maybe I just feel like making a point. But it's usually not a good thing. If you're calling people names, putting them into categories they themselves don't even want to be in and that they don't claim for themselves, or if you want to judge them based on their demographic category or whatever, I find that suspicious. And I suspect you're actually not trying to help problems. I suspect you're not trying to share thoughts with people in a nice way. So I've decided lately to just tune some people out if they're dicks. That's how it goes. I'll tell you a couple other things. And by the way, I see a number of people are following this conversation. Thank you. Casi la mayoría hablan español, ¿no? En esta plática. I think most people watching this speak Spanish as a native language. Escúchame. Más gente aquí habla en español que inglés, ¿correcto? Yo creo que sí. Entonces voy a intentar, pero soy muy tímido, completamente tímido para hablar en español, porque yo sé que yo tengo muchos errores y siento malo y estúpido. Perdón. Para mí decir perdón es un poco falso, porque la verdad soy orgulloso que yo pueda comunicar en cualquier caso. Entonces, estoy haciendo un poco más de videos en español y vamos a traducir los que son en español a inglés en subtítulos. Porque la verdad soy más inteligente en inglés. En español estoy siempre buscando cuál palabra es correcto, cómo puedo ser chistoso, inteligente, no sé. Entonces, ¿prefieres continuar en español o en inglés? En general, en el Bosque, los videos van a estar en los dos. The videos in the Bosque will generally be in both languages. If it's in one language, it needs to quickly get translated to another, because we get almost twice as much value for the work with a simple translation process. And it's good to transcribe things anyway, because then we can post them on with the video, and we can get the search engine optimization, and people can find it via keywords. We can use any text that was recorded to benefit the video. For people coming here, por los que vienen aquí, yo necesito tener gente que son bilingual. Es mucho mejor. Entonces estoy pensando de la problema en general de inglés y español. ¿Cómo vamos a funcionar en los dos? Y la verdad es un problema bien grave. Yo vi en mi tiempo aquí, mis años aquí, muchos, no son conflictos, muchos mal conocimientos, mal entendidos, cosas, porque la gente no tiene la misma idioma. So what I'm saying there is that, and if you didn't understand that in Spanish, you should learn English. And if you know English, then you should learn Spanish in any case. What I said there was that it's really helpful if everybody learns English and Spanish, because there's so many misunderstandings I've seen here that are unnecessary. And I don't know what percentage. I like to quantify things and make numbers up. But I swear that in many interactions, it depends on the level of language of each person. There can be up to over 80% in some cases of confusion. And that can go down to about 20% if the foreign person, the non-Spanish speaker, speaks Spanish pretty well. And I've seen every kind of combination of people here. It's been very confusing and interesting. And so the types of problems that occur when you also start to mix then not just two people, but three people, and group dynamics as they relate to who can speak what language and how, and then you've got that laid on top of all the other dynamics there are. Entonces, con todas esas cosas, es bien complicado las cosas sociales. Voy a decirte de alguna cosa que yo estoy haciendo. I'll tell you about other thing I'm doing. I started posting tiny YouTube clips on YouTube. Tiny clips about small topics, because I've done a bunch of long videos. Yo hice algunos videos muy largos, y esos son muy cortitos. I'm doing that because sometimes I speak better than I write, or at least it's faster. I'm uploading like about 200 of them, I think, at least. And they're on topics that I keep saying anyway over and over. Now, in the past, I didn't want to do a lot of talking head videos, like just me talking. I get a little tired of my face and I get tired of listening to me. But I think the way I can stop having to repeat myself is by already knowing that I have videos on specific topics with the same thing I say, the thing I say over and over and over. Just record it, publish it, and I can get it out of my head, right? Now, I thought of that a couple times, but most recently thought of it better when a couple guys were here and we walked around for one day. And all I did was talk to them about everything. They had already been here for a little bit, and I just talked to them about each part of the land and each element of everything and how it fits in everything else. And this is the mental challenge. This is the puzzle, is how do you create a space in which a human lives in a forest, doesn't destroy it, has the right things, doesn't have the wrong things, and doesn't do the wrong things. So these clips are about that. They're about each space. They're just trying to talk to the camera just like I would talk to them in person, which is what I'm doing now. It's a one-sided conversation again. And so as I learn to publish, I'm in these odd one-way conversations, but you can respond all you want and whatever. The cool thing about the clips is that they're broken in a small bit by topic, so they can get incorporated into things I write on Quora. They can also get posted into the wiki, which if you don't know about the Bosque wiki, it's a useful place to put information in an organized way. If you have a question for me, look it up with Google first, look up the keywords, and then if we talk, right, if we record a video, then we can actually talk at a higher level, because I'll know that you know the vocabulary I know. I'll know that you know the news that's new on whatever it is and the science behind it, or whatever it is we should know about the topic. And we don't have to waste our time on dumbass basic instruction, okay? But we can have a high-level conversation that's more entertaining for both of us, and certainly is more valuable and entertaining for anybody having to watch it. Because I would just be totally bummed out if I bored the hell out of somebody. That is not even close to my goal. I see lots of boring people online, and lots of really entertaining people too. And damn, I do not want to be boring. Other stuff to talk about. Well, I don't just want to talk about talking to you. Something bad has happened, and I haven't said it yet anywhere because I don't want to. And I guess I'll tell you now. I have video. I ran it. This happened like over a week ago, and I found the video today, and it's Sebastian dying. So Sebastian is dead. And that's sad. Sebastian is a dog here, for anybody who doesn't know that. He's one of the most popular dogs that's ever been here. He's lived a long time. I'm not sure why everybody picks him to be so popular. But I'll tell you, he's a very popular dog. And now he's dead. And I'll publish a video later about what happened. And it's over now for me. And now it's, if you know Sebastian, you're probably sad. Sorry about that. But we all go sometime, and I've worked through it. I knew he was getting older anyway, and I knew he'd die. I just didn't know he'd die this way. So, hey, Luisma. Nice to see you. Entonces voy a hablar un poco más en español otra vez. Es difícil. Quiero decir gracias, hola Rosendo. Quiero decir gracias a los donadores. Necesito hacer mejor reportaje, better reports, de qué está pasando con esas cosas. Estoy trabajando muy poco en esas cosas, pero gracias a todos que dan un poco, porque aquí un poco es mucho. Y todavía estoy aprendiendo cómo a mejorar sistemas y no es malo que estoy intentando absorber con muy poco de recursos. Está bien. Soy muy feliz. Es difícil y tengo miedo. Y tengo más miedo cuando estoy en el último momentito y los sistemas son cayendo completamente. Ahora, cosas son estables por este tema. El siguiente yo espero también. Pero este entonces, el tiempo en cuando estoy trabajando más para comunicar las visiones de este lugar. Porque yo no quiero hacer este solo, no puedo. Es imposible. So I have to have other people involved in the project. And I'm figuring out how to do that. I'm talking to people who want to be residents. I'm writing a lot more, and I'm also doing a lot of videos to communicate how I want relations of this place, me, and other people to exist. Because it's not a hotel. My goals are very strange. And I'm fairly avoidant of having most people here. I want to hear how people can help create the space and not how I can have a lose-lose situation, a lose-lose relationship. And unfortunately, what you really have, actually, I'm not worried about lose-lose relationships. I'm worried about win-lose relationships in which I'm the loser, and I'm not looking for those in which I'm the winner. The only category of relationship that works out is win-win. And so I'm trying to figure out like how we can inventory the categories of relationships we have and wonder what kind of social contracts we need to have in order to make those work. That sounds a little esoteric, and I've thought that maybe I shouldn't even talk because it just confuses people. But I think that most people, at least the people I want to have here, can step up to that, and I think they can comprehend that. Children believe in ultimate freedom, and they don't care about anyone else until we train them to. So we train children heavily. And I believe that we, as spoiled children of the industrial world, are badly trained to be positive citizens in a post-cheap energy world. I think we've been trained bad. I think we're bad dogs. And I know a lot about dogs. So part of the goal here then is to figure out what are the simple, realistic, basic exercises of a culture we can live through the day and live through the week, get through a month, get through a year, plan for the seasons, use energy correctly, figure out how to live correctly, which I've been doing some work on, to actually create the world we keep thinking about and talking about, the one that doesn't totally destroy us and kill us, which is what's happening in your life. And I don't want to get into you on a personal level. I know one of the things that you get people to pay attention to your ideas, okay, and watch out for this in your own life, is that people are going to tell you you're bad. Well, I'm going to tell you you're bad, okay, because everybody's bad, whatever. But I'm hoping that you're the one working on judging what bad and good is for you, you know? And I'll continue with my point about organizations want to tell you you're bad, okay? You look at something like Christianity, and they tell you got original sin. You're responsible for things that you did before you ever existed, and have nothing to do with you. There's people who will tell you you're bad for your demographic group. And surprisingly, a lot of the people who do that the most are the people who are against doing that. So it's fairly confusing. Well, you can fill in the rest of it. I think the problem is it gets into a lot of details. And that's what I'm trying to attack here is the details. And it's been very fun. I'm not an expert on that. And I think there are people who, when I speak and I sound arrogant because I'm telling people how I think we should be and what my perceptions are, I think they're not paying attention to the fact that I'm also saying that I am trying to do my best to help them in their own process of thinking. And of course, I think I'm right. You think you're right. Everybody does. I mean, we're all egomaniacs that believe what we do, and we justify it all the time. And, we're electrochemical machines driven by, evolution, hormones, our culture, and training to do whatever we do. So the idea that we even have any free will to be pissed off at each other with is questionable. I mean, I think we do. I go with free will quite a bit, but understand that we're largely just operating within programs that we have a limited amount of ability to break out of. Now, of course, hopefully we're largely self-programmed, as I think I am. I think I've taken my upbringing and existence. Hi, Mom, and thank you for creating me. Um, and I'm just riding the strange existence of the Brian that exists. And I don't think that's entirely special or that I have any inherent value. The only value I can produce is in perceiving things better and processing them better, and then acting in ways as a result of my conclusions in ways that make a better world. That's it. I mean, it's not that tricky. And as I say that, I could sound like a hippie, but the non-hippie part is I don't think we're anything close to achieving that. And I think there's a lot of systems in place that we're all supporting that are in direct opposition to anything resembling peace and freedom. Peace and freedom are screwed if we continue doing anything like what we're doing now. So one of the other topics I've been talking about recently, and I'll be publishing more videos on, broadcasting your life. What I'm doing right now is I am extemporaneously telling you some thoughts about my perceptions in the world. And that's an odd position to put myself in. I'll skip the complexities of that, but I will tell you it's been a strange ride. I'm not super popular, so it's not that strange. But one of the reasons I'm doing it is because I think more people should do it. I've really enjoyed that I've created this kind of laboratory space, this bubble in which to do it, which I think is I'm creating in order to film and in order to think well, in order to communicate those thoughts to you from other people who come here as well. So it is a strange experiment, but I would like to point out to you that you have the same opportunity in your own experiment in your own life to broadcast your life. And I would encourage it. I mean, I would warn you, don't do it. You shouldn't do it because other people will see your life and they'll judge you, and it could be odd. So you have to kind of pick and choose how you want to deal with the virtual world. But since back in the early 80s, I said, when I saw the internet, I said, this is amazing. And everyone's going to have their own television station. Now, I'm probably not the only guy who said that in the world. But really, to take that to heart and understand it is to realize we're not even there yet. In a very short time, right now, about half the world's even on the internet. And I think most people in Mexico are counted as being on the internet, even though where I live, they're just on the internet and their phones, and they're not really creators. They're not active participants in the internet. So I don't think that the world is yet online. I don't think that until we get billions of more people who are actively able to create and share their thoughts, and then AI is able to categorize those thoughts, and we will see what we think. In other words, even though I sometimes say like the internet has caused us to be able to say hello to ourselves as a civilization, I actually think we are just a baby at most in terms of seeing the impact of global consciousness of the internet all over the world. So I'm saying this from a very personal point of view because I'm broadcasting myself, and it's an emotional risk in a way, I suppose. It's an actual risk in some ways. And certainly I find out that people are not really, there's awesome people in the world, but my God, there's a lot of people who aren't. So whatever. Anyway, so I would encourage you, especially if you're considering coming here, Sabine or whoever, and that one of the things you can try doing if you're up for it, and this is not a requirement, but it's a suggestion, is that you can start to record and broadcast yourself. Just do it. Now, right now, I'm using one particular system on a social network to broadcast, but I also want to broadcast on other social networks and see what works for people and what works for my kind of message. I prefer a lot of written word, but I have found that video works great. People like video. I mean, we exist because we were created by people who we talk to face since we were a tiny baby, and that is the primal communication. Text is, in that sense, it's kind of artificial, and I love books, and I will always love them. That is the fastest way to learn quickly and deeply, and study of literature and everything I think is absolutely important, and writing down your thoughts is very important. But I also have respect for this method of communicating because it works. It connects with people, and you can see me and you can decide whatever you want because you need to. You can judge me because we are judging machines. Anyway, that's also a way for you to be less of a judge if you do put yourself out there, because then if you're willing to record little bits of your life and publish them, it makes you vulnerable to a lot of things, and it makes you wonder about what you think too. Like, what do you really believe? And are you willing to stand behind it with your words? Of course, I'm still going to contend that I have the right to disagree with me anytime I feel like it. I'm not going to be coherent because I'm still thinking about a lot of stuff. But I'm just bringing up issues, and some of them I hold deeply, and some of them, well, I'm just playing around. So, so what else? What else do we got? Oh, well, it was a day. I'm doing mostly good things. It is a struggle, I won't lie. Estoy aquí en este momentito y estoy feliz aquí, solo en este momentito. Creo que uno de mis conflictos cuando quiero tener gente aquí es que también yo necesito mi tiempo protegido contra de todo. Y creo que necesito este diario. Yo tengo muchos años como ermitaño y algunas veces cuando hay mucha gente aquí estoy emocionado para tenerlos. Pero también es mucho trabajo para mí. Entonces necesito asemblar para juntar mi equipo básico para cuando hay gente. Yo no debo tener casi nada para hacer. Por favor. I mean, si hay emergencias, no debe ser. Debe ser soluciones antes y no deben necesitarme. Yo necesito salir de aquí y tener todas las cosas funcionando con visitantes y residentes y todo. Pero entonces hay que juntar un equipo que muy probable son de Michoacán, gente local, es mucho mejor, porque muy afuera tal vez pueden venir y quedar, pero la mayoría no van a quedar aquí, son viajeros. Entonces, necesito buscar gente con valores y éticas que son buenos. Y necesitan estudiar mis ideas. Si alguien no gusta mis ideas, no deben venir aquí. I mean, para mí, el bosque es más importante que una persona. Cada persona necesita pensar por qué están aquí, en qué van a lograr, y ellos deben autoanalizar ellos mismos para pensar qué están haciendo y cuál es el efecto. Porque si hay gente mala aquí, no vamos a lograr con nada. Y tú puedes pensar por tú mismo qué es malo en tu mente. Yo tengo mis ideas y yo sé cuáles son los atributos muy buenos y quiero colectar los mejores. Si no son los mejores no van a gustar a venir. Entonces, hay en una solicitud, hay un filtro. Y cada quien en su propio día va a decidir qué necesitan hacer, cuáles son los proyectos. Si tenemos es un lugar muy creativo, muy productivo y diferente que todos los otros que yo conozco en todo el mundo. No hay ningún lugar igual. Y ese es por el diseño del lugar. Estoy usando todos mis pensamientos que tengo después de años para estudiar y años aquí. Entonces, es bien complicado. Y no estoy hablando de una como persona perfecta. Yo necesito arreglarme mismo. Yo hice cosas que son un perdido de tiempo. Pero estoy intentando. Y esta es mi expectación, es que todos intentan. Well, esa es la introducción tal vez, o tal vez es el final. ¿Hay alguna gente en esta charla? There's some people in this chat. Sorry for speaking in both languages, but I think it is good to speak in both languages so that everybody learns Spanish and English. Please. It would make the world a better place. Be a good American from the Americas, all of the Americas, and learn English and Spanish. And we'll have a great continent. We could learn some Portuguese, but they should learn English and Spanish too. We got a great couple continents here, and we're losing them. Yeah, you need to study Spanish. Somebody just commented on this video that they need to study Spanish, and that is true. I think there's just a huge reward. It's not hard a language. It's actually harder to learn English. Pero también en Bosque Village es un buen lugar para aprender y mejorar tu inglés, depende en quién está. Pero algunas veces tenemos gente aquí que no hablan muy bien el español. Entonces, si tú sabes un poco de inglés, ustedes los dos pueden practicar y mejorar. So we can have everybody improve their language skills here. I mean, I'm big into that. And that's just a pragmatic thing. Everybody's being with all the who's from where bullshit and what's going on. Hey, just learn some languages, you know. Take control of your life, have over international communications and intercultural communications. And that's just a great way to go. You could learn like Chinese, I guess. That seems hard, but probably a good idea financially. I don't know. It probably is. And then you could learn Purepecha, which is the local indigenous language. And so the Purepecha language is the language of the indigenous people. It's actually a language isolate, so it's kind of weird. So somebody could actually study that. Now, I would like to learn it, but I don't want to have to study it, so I'm probably not going to learn it. And so, but the Purepecha language is really interesting. And so if there was linguists out there, they're welcome to come here and study it. I've met a couple grad students who are studying Purepecha culture and language, and it was very cool, actually. Yeah, so language has been a great part of this project. Hi, Sylvie. Entonces voy a hablar un rato más de algunos de los temas en que estoy publicando esos clips. Tengo muchos clips. Están en inglés. Maybe I have to speak in English for this part. What makes sense? I don't know. So I'm publishing a lot about each place in the Bosque. So I went to each place around here, all the buildings, all the spaces, parts of buildings, and then natural spaces where I have a vision for it someday or whatever. I recorded a video on those. Check those out on YouTube. Subscribe to that. I'll ask directly on this video, why not? I need people who love the Bosque Village, who love the concept of it. I know there's some people out there who are supporters, and they're really supporting me. And I do appreciate that immensely. That's great. And thank you. You're keeping me alive. But I also want to expand it to people who don't know me and who really like the vision of the place. And so one of the things that people can do, that you can do if you're listening to this, is think, what is this guy talking about? You know, what is this thing, Bosque Village, and what are the topics? And if you look up topics, Bosque Village, you'll find a list of topics that are interesting. And then you can wonder, what kind of people do you know who would be excited by that? You know, whether it's the plants or the broadcasting or the positive technology, a positive technology view combined with this deep ecological responsibility in caring for the earth, that if we don't care for the earth right now, we already have a serious problem. I'm not going to say we're going to have a serious problem in the future. I think we're already poisoning ourselves now. This is a day-to-day crisis in progress, and I don't know why most people wouldn't be changing their lives to respond to that. I think the ones with the most resources aren't doing it because they're busy consuming. So, and I don't know, we all make our own choices, but most people in the world do not actually have a lot of choices. La mayoría de gente en el mundo no tienen muchas decisiones económicas en cómo pueden vivir. Entonces, ¿en dónde es la responsabilidad más grande que hay? Si gente piensa, soy un revolucionario, yo voy a decir esas cosas alternativas, no me gusta cómo están las cosas, no me gustan los políticos, no me gustan este. Yeah, well, espero que te guste tu acción. ¿Qué haces tú? Esa es la única pregunta. No necesitas juntar con otro equipo y decir, oh, yo necesito hacerlo, pero no puedo porque no hay mucha oportunidad para hacerlo. No, eres una persona débil. Tú eres la persona más poderosa en tu vida. Y yo sé, es muy difícil. Yo sé que la mayoría de gente no van a hacer nada. Van a hablar. Pero entonces mi pregunta para ti es qué vas a hacer. Y no quiero escuchar qué vas a hacer. Yo quiero escuchar cuándo vas a hacerlo. Bueno, yo quiero leer cualquier cosa, pero hay mucha gente que hablan y no quiero perder mucho de mi tiempo con ellos. La gente que vienen aquí, yo espero que son gente de acción. Vamos a ver. Oh, how to get off on that. So I'll give you the update. Things are tough. I'm a little scattered and I'm very focused on some things. I'm uploading all these videos. That's good. Always be uploading is one of my mottos, and always be recording is another. Those are hard to balance. I cleaned up a little bit for a few hours. I still live in a dirty place because I'm me and it's dirty. Everything is beautiful here. But not always easy. This is a great time of year though. I'm so happy to be here alone. I hate to say that. I got to figure out, things in me and things in my agreements with other people that make me happier when there's people here than when there's not. And I think that's doable. I think I'm suffering from past damage of having allowed unbalanced relationships in my life. And I'm going to change that or not be with anyone or something. And I wonder about that. Like, I think other people worry about, they deal with that same issue. I know married people, and I tell you, I don't think marriage is that great. I'm envious of the few people who find it great and if they've actually worked that out. But I don't think it's very common that people have happy marriages. And I blame that on the usual stuff that I talk about, like lack of social contracts, lack of the marriage contract being written, general transiency in life in general. And I don't know that that's bad. I don't know that it's terrible if we lose this illusion of monogamous marriage contracts. I think we could change it. I like the idea of hand fasting, for example. So let's just, explore. I'm not going to do it now, but we could, in our lives, explore what are the options then? If we don't get married, how can we have a wonderful, fulfilling lives, And I think it's totally doable. One option is hand fasting, shorter term contracts. You could think creatively, like don't live together. Maybe living together is a pain in the ass, and maybe you shouldn't combine that with the person that you're most emotionally connected with. Or maybe you should live next door. Or maybe you should have a room of your own. I've thought about that. Like everybody should have a room of their own, which a few people have said to me, well, that sounds very individualistic, isolationist, et cetera. Well, you can sleep wherever you want. If you had a big enough bed in both places for both people to sleep, then they're coupling because they can, because they want to, and not because that's the only place they have to sleep. I also thought about the economics of relationships and how I think that all partners should have enough resources to leave the relationship. And I think that's good for everyone's mental health. It is a way to fight slavery. And I mean that very directly. Debt should not be co-owned. You should not owe a debt when a relationship ends. People should be paid as they go if they need to be paid. And everyone should have the resources they need to be free. Because right now, some of the gender conflict you hear about is because people are functionally reliant on each other and enslaved to each other, and that's not good. It's unbalanced, and even with good people, will result in bad behaviors. So, for the protection of all, regardless of gender, I would suggest that people have financial independence to the degree that's possible in the culture they're in. Part of that is having skills that are marketable, that are sellable for cash. I think everybody should have skills that are sellable for cash, and not just intellectual, artsy, sciencey, theoretical, philosophy shit. Although I appreciate, higher levels of thought, whatever, more delusional bullshit, perhaps, if it's philosophy. I'm just kidding around, sort of. Anyway, we have to actually have pragmatic skills if we're going to be useful human beings in the world. I mean, if we're such fancy, smart apes, then how come we're just shitting on our pool, And how come so many of the industrial rich ones don't actually have any useful skills to produce the things that they like to survive? And why are they using slave labor in other countries to produce the devices that they want? And even though they think they're for justice and equality, that doesn't apply to those people. Day to day, every day, when you look at your phone, where did it come from? Think about it. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? I'm doing it too. I have an iPhone 4. It was donated to me. I am enjoying it greatly. I'm pro technology. I think you should have a phone and a laptop. But when people talk about economics and justice and things, understand that the consumer is king and everything is serving you if you got those kind of fancy devices like I have right in front of me right now. And we can have just trade, I think. We can have ways of having technology without it being the way it is in the world. And I know it's too big to think about the world. It hurts your head. It hurts mine too. I don't like it. I got the whole world on my shoulders sometimes, I feel like. And it's painful. Don't do that, probably. But we've got to take personal responsibility for what we're doing. That's it. And go with that. I don't want to walk you through it. I don't want to babysit people's thinking, but start opening your eyes and seeing it. Slavery never stopped, It's just changed its nature quite a bit. Eso es mucho de inglés. Pero soy más cansado cuando hablo en español. Por los que tienen interés y solo hablan español, dígame, puedes enviarme un mensaje. Estoy en busca de la gente que quieren estar aquí por más tiempo, que saben de habilidades que yo necesito tener para ser confiable, para ser puntual, para aprender del lugar, para ser inteligente, no con muchos conflictos con otra gente. Esta es una habilidad súper fuerte, súper bueno. Entonces, más y más, yo quiero tener gente más cercano para estar aquí como un equipo de chispas. Gente que sabe el lugar y pueden invitar los mejores y ser patrocinadores en diferentes espacios, y todos van a ganar un mundo mejor ahora mismo. No quiero esperar más. Y no quiero regresarme al mundo de civilización. Esa es una invitación. Por alguna gente hay una solicitud todavía y hay que hablar y ver si tenemos éticas similares o no. So, yeah, personal responsibility. I think that hits people deeper as they get older, actually, because a lot of times when you're young, you're energetic, and a lot of small things just fall off your back, or you're not involved with them, or you don't have that much to lose anyway. And as we get older, we see the cost, the social cost that happens continuously in social groups, among couples, among organizations of all kinds, and work environments. And we see that people's lack of some basic ethics and some of what we might even call common sense damages the whole system. It's failed before it started because it has bad materials. And I think right now, it's funny because I'm a guy who has very open ethics in many ways. I believe we should have this really wide expanse of possible ways to express ourselves. I don't think we should discriminate against people based on their race, their national origin, their sexual preferences. their geographical origin, like if they're from this place or that. I think, or even if they're different style, there's so many ways that bigotry is infiltrated into our lives, and we're indoctrinated in so many ways. It's ridiculous. I don't think that we should fixate on any one of those types of problems. I think we should try and release ourselves from as many of them as possible, and hopefully everyone working within themselves to do that. I do want to codify lots of ways of being, but the truth is that the law, the rules that matter the most in your life are the ones you follow. You have the most power. And if you don't like the rules that other people create around you, you're not going to follow them anyway, and you're going to see widespread corruption in people around you, and you have a bad society that is poorly defined. That's pretty normal. I'm not blaming you for it. And I'm not exempt from that. Now, I have self-examined. I have destroyed myself, ripped apart everything I believe, put it together again many times. I recall doing this extremely consciously when I was younger. I remember these epiphany moments that would go on for longer periods of time in which I would break it all down to the most basic things of epistemology. How do I know anything? How do I know that I can know? How do I know that I am? And then build it up from there. And I ended up doing this many times, changing things each time, like a intellectual sculpture of ideas or something, of how I perceive the universe. This is the scientific Bryanism structure of how I see the world. Now, over time, that got longer and longer and more difficult. And easier also, because some of it I could just reevaluate real quick and be like, any new information? No, let's move on. Overall, though, difficult moments, times, hours, and eventually now it's more blurred, I think. I still question everything, but it's such a broad field of thought that it's actually harder to do and more exhausting. Maybe I'm doing it all the time now. I don't know. I hope not. But I would like to talk to the younger Brian briefly. Somebody asked me how I have internet up here. And you can look that up online. You can look up Brian Fay internet, probably satellite tower, something. It's on Quora. I have a satellite connection, a dish to a satellite tower, and that is really important here. I'm on a very small solar power system. At the moment, I'm using way more electricity than I should be using. This is what my screen looks like. That's me. See, there's you down there. I have a library back there, and I'm running a lot more electricity than normal. I'm using these extra lights here because I want better lighting for you. Hey, Felipe. Which reminds me, one of the other things I was going to talk about. This other guy just joined, so I know. Anyway, so that's how I have internet up here, and luckily I have it because this kind of project would be far more difficult without it, and I wouldn't even recommend doing that. Entonces, Felipe, gracias. A ver, Las Vigas, todavía estoy atrasado, perdón. Puedes venir a verlos si quieres. Debo tomar una foto, no sé si quiero venderlos. Soy loco, tú sabes. Todavía tienes mi motosierra, ¿sí? Entonces, tenemos muchas ideas, debemos hablar y pensar en, ok, en cuál vamos a poner energía y cuál no. Tú eres muy ocupado, yo sé. Está bien, tu proyecto es súper bueno. Entonces, cuando tienes tiempo, soy flexible, más flexible que tú, muy probable. Entonces, podemos hablar de cosas y hacer planes real por una ironga súper mejor. Yar. And that message applies to anybody else too. What I just told my friend was we talk about lots of cool stuff. And I like to talk about lots of stuff too. I'm big on brainstorming. I'm big on design. But we always got to remember that that's still just talk. Even a good design is still just talk. We got to figure out how to make things real, you know? I'll say something I've said to people before. Uh, when people go to festivals, a lot of times they say, "Welcome home" to the people when they arrive, and I find that kind of sad because if that's your home, it means you don't live in your home. Although there are people who just go from festival to festival. They're rich people, they're wealthy people. Uh, so I'm looking for people who want to invest deeper than that. And I do appreciate the beautiful temporariness of festival and all the pretty people, but it's not good enough if you want to think you're creating something deep. Hola, Marce. Otra vez en español, ¿por qué no? Todavía necesito explorar este estado fantástico. Michoacán es un muy buen estado. Y yo conozco algunos lugares, pero no todos. Y yo quiero más turismo, pero más turismo profundo, no solamente por un tiempo chiquito. Um, entonces, este es una de mis metas. Estoy muy enfocado en Eronga, claro. Este es mi hogar. Estoy bienvenido aquí, tengo amigos aquí y soy muy hogareño. Entonces, no es muy natural para mí viajar lejos. Entonces, mis intereses son más cerca de aquí que nada. Es mejor. Cool. Thanks, Felipe. So, this is my second Facebook video. I guess it's going to be long. Thanks for dropping in. I appreciate it. Do, if you like me in some way, I don't care how, even if you dislike me in ways that are amusing for you, do subscribe and all that, and do support me online. Share everything you can that you think is interesting. That is of a huge help. That is a donation. That is an encouragement to continue. And people say that kind of shit all the time. I hate hearing it, subscribe and share and like and comment. But I would recommend commenting, be part of it, and I'm interested actually in your thoughts. Many of the people who are following this video right now, this is a live video, I've known for many years, some of them for over 2 decades. Wow, some for a long time, and other people just more recently. And I'm always mixing people's ideas together. I think this is a very important thing about the project, is that it does not come from a single philosophy. There is no dogma. We will create a dogma. We will create a system that is the authority on how things work here. That's a set of decisions already made, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel every day. Now, you, luckily, don't have to do those things like the Bosque says to do. You're free to be a slave of the existing system. If you can create any freedom in your life, then feel free to borrow any ideas I come up with. They're useful to you. I'm pretty much in favor of not directly attacking big systems that will squish you, because it's pointless. I'm pretty big in favor of not dividing yourself from other people because you have different isms, or because you have different clothing or eating habits, or backgrounds within your genetic group. I think those are bad things to fight about, and that I welcome friendships across all those boundaries. That's a great way to destroy bigotry. Now we know about the big bigotries. I'm often more concerned about the very small ones that are day to day among all of us, and I put that into a context of then breaking away from all of it and figuring out, okay, well, what's really better ways we could live, and not just going totally primitive. There's guys who want to go totally primitive, and guys like John, and I appreciate that. But we also then have to come up with moderate situations in which people can live a less energy intensive lifestyle and have a greater appreciation for a lot of primitive ways, but end up somewhere in the middle, because that's what's going to be sellable to them, and that's what's going to be comfortable for them. Also, if we are going to be such fancy ass amazing apes, then we might as well benefit somewhat, right? I mean, I'm not against comfort for humans. I'm not against technology. I'm just against almost all of how we've used it. We've been like, You know the marshmallow test? Marshmallow test. If you don't know that, you should. They take these young kids down and they put them in a laboratory, and the kids have two marshmallows there. No, they have one marshmallow. Sorry. Don't trust people. You can look up marshmallow test. It's really interesting. And the kids are totally cute. And then they leave the kids there. That lady walks out of the room. Oh, she says to him first. She says, well, I'm going to leave for 10 minutes or something. I don't know what it was. A time that's a long time for a kid. 10 minutes, long time for kids. They're very impatient because they're young, just like young people in general. And she says, I'm going to leave this one marshmallow here right in front of you. And if that marshmallow is still here when I get back, I'm going to give you another marshmallow. You'll have two marshmallows. So this is to test this kid's ability to invest in the future. Can this person think about resources correctly? And some of the kids, the struggle on their face is really entertaining as they decide to eat that marshmallow or not. Are they going to have delayed gratification? Now, the theory goes that the kids who waited became more successful. Now, I don't know. There's many forms of success, and I don't know. You should check the validity of that. And we should also redo that ourselves here, and that'd be fun to play games like that with participants. Participants are just toys after all. I don't mean just toys, fabulous toys. Somebody chats me here. This is a live video. Victoria Romero says, hi, Brian. Please say hi to Marie. Hi, Marie. Who's Marie? There's a whole bunch of people named Marie. Hay mucha gente con el nombre de Marie. Entonces, no sé quién. Ah, Marie, de aquí. Ah, ella no está. Ella sale hace muchos años. Entonces, ella ya vive en los Estados Unidos. Cosas cambian. Y este es un cambio que pasa, 6, 7 años, no recuerdo. Mucho tiempo. Social life. I'll tell you, this extreme experience I've been through has allowed me to think about things in different ways, and I should try and appreciate that. It has been painful, and it's not anything I would have chosen, really, and I still don't like it. I didn't decide to be, go be a hermit forever. And now I've got hermit-type behaviors that I don't even. People say they want to come here, and I'm not even nice to them all the time. I'm kind of rude, and so that's why I'm trying to figure out how can I have people here and have it be a positive thing for everybody. Because I'm tired of people. I mean, you think you're tired of people, but you haven't had them all live in your house and have the odd relationship I have. So I do have a greater appreciation for the massive variety of ways of being that there are. Y sí, cosas cambian. I mean, una persona cambia. Y cosas aquí en el bosque cambian. Hay algunas cosas que son muy estables, pero todavía es muy experimental. Y la palabra experimental es correcto, porque no es completamente científico. Algunas veces debo anotar números y no lo hizo. Y otras veces debo recordar cosas bien. Yo tengo fotos de cosas, está bien, pero es muy diferente. Y la parte experimental que hay de gente es que cada quien que viene tiene un efecto. Y eso es porque estoy hablando más y más en videos acerca de participantes y las expectativas de cada quien. Porque necesitamos desarrollar roles, maneras para estar, que no son la misma que antes. We have to define roles and ways of being that are different than the way we were before. It's absolutely critical. If we keep doing what we were doing, if we keep having the same attitudes, ethics that we had before, we will create the same shithole over again. And people will do it here. And this has been, I've had conflicts with people. Day to day, when people are here, it's often just awesome. It's usually awesome. But I've had really bad people come through, like it's a very small percentage. But believe me, they take a lot of energy. And maybe they think that's normal, or maybe they're just evil because they're not getting what they want. But yeah, you go, this place is exclusive for a reason. And I reject even awesome people. because I have a limit on how many people I can take at a given time. And so I try to be nice when I reject people, although some of them are not good even from their first contact. And if you reject someone and then they get really angry with you, then you kind of realize that you probably made a good decision because there's no guarantee that somebody's going to get accepted. That's just ludicrous. I mean, what kind of person would do that? I have no idea. Voy a hablar un poco de arte aquí en esta conversación. Hola, Fernando. Hay alguna gente que son artistas y voy a hablar de esto un ratito. Hay diferentes proyectos de arte aquí. Uno es arte natural, hecho de cosas en el bosque. Puedes poner cosas en patrones y para hacer un efecto visual. Hay diferente gente que hacen este tipo de arte nativo, natural. Otra opción es murales en un pueblito cercano. Yo tengo cada muro elegido, donde está una foto de cada uno, y yo quiero cubrir un pueblo de 400 personas. Es chiquito, pero un pueblo súper interesante, de muy buena gente. Y yo quiero empezar poco a poco a poner murales. Hay lugares por murales aquí también en el bosque, pero no muchos. No tenemos muchos muros planos, muy lisos. Pero también hay que aprender cómo hacer cosas de madera, con herramientas de mano, taller de madera, de piedra, pero los piedras son muy fuertes, entonces no son como cantera. Cantera es más fácil. También hay opciones para destacar rocas y hacer esculturas en esta manera. Y tengo muchas otras ideas, esculturas de cemento, esculturas de árboles para cambiar cómo crece un árbol. Eso es muy interesante. Esa es una escultura en vivo y podemos pensar de casi todo este terreno tan largo como una escultura en vivo. Y puede ser muy sencillo, tal vez solamente una rama para hacer un banco en vivo de encino. O tal vez va a ser un muro de encinos o un mixto de cedros para hacer un domo. O podemos hacer herramientas con plantas que ya están en vivo. No sé. So that's some artistic thoughts for you. Again, hi, Fernando, an artist guy just joined to watch. I don't want to talk a lot to people directly in these chats because I think it's a distraction. These are rewatchable videos. I hope they have some value. These are kind of an overview of things I've been thinking about. Right now on YouTube, I have uploading clips. Those are going to get all put in the wiki, and you can look up things you like, look up things you're interested in. That's one problem, in a sense, I've had with this project is it's so complex that people say, what is it? And what they want is an answer that has to do with the things they're interested in. And that's great. I'm probably interested in the things that most people are interested in. But I also have a lot of diverse thoughts, and the project has a lot of diverse sub-projects. And so that can be confusing. Ultimately, you could say I'm trying to build a small town. And actually, that is one of the stages I'd like to get to. I think of this, in terms of zoning and land planning. I think about it as having a much higher population and having architecture that's appropriate to the site and increasing food production to have food security locally and designing it in ways that really, there's no aspect that I'm not considering. So that is confusing. At the same time, that sculpture isn't just biological with plants. It isn't just architectural, although the architecture creates the society in a great many ways. We will be the kind of people we are because we have certain ways we can live together. So climate affects that, architecture affects that, the ethics of how we deal with the land affect that. The other part that's the most complicated, and I've referred to this many times, is us, the social aspect. And everybody can think about that. Todos pueden pensar de permacultura social, porque todavía si tenemos soluciones por energía, agricultura, arquitectura, todo, tenemos problemas todavía. Tenemos problemas de familias, de reproducción, cómo vamos a cuidar los niños. Tenemos problemas que no son políticas, son políticas de individuales, de gente. de familias, algunas veces, pero la individual es muy importante. Alguna gente puede decir, él es muy individualista. Ah, sí, yo soy. Y tú también. No hay ninguna persona que no es individualista. Todos somos egoístas y todos vivimos atrás de dos ojos. Espero que tienes dos. Si tienes tres, es muy interesante. Uh, uh, tenemos una boca, necesitamos comer, hacer mierda. Esa es la vida. Somos iguales y somos individuales porque mucha gente no son tan cómodos en la cultura que tienen. Lots of people are not comfortable in the culture they were given. And so we have to design a better culture. We have to design a culture that works for us. Because I talk to people. I mean, I'm not just a guy who's following some philosophy. I'm not following some teacher. Well, I'm following all teachers, I guess, that I've had access to and many books and everything and everybody I've ever talked to. You know, I'm not an individualist in the sense that I'm just totally autocentric and only care about me at all. And I don't think most people are. I think most people are trying to be caring and they're trying to be in situations with friends and family and maybe children where they're trying to be as good as they can be. And I think there's a lot of impediments to being a good person. A lot of those are structural, you know? It's difficult. And I do appreciate other projects that are out there. I like to hear about other projects that are out there doing similar stuff. And in many cases, I hear about similar types of problems as they make those attempts. And I think we can almost look at those, we can almost diagnose those and see like what the commonest problems are and how we can get around them. We can look at the things that keep us from being free and we can attack them. So a fellow here says, in my experiences lately, I've encountered a lot of interesting people and projects attempting to progress any number of dimensions of society or what have you. Many pulling knowledge and practice from other cultures of past societies. Well, great. That's fantastic to hear. I'm not totally alone. I'm thrilled to hear it. Damn. I get the feeling it's a big spectrum of what feels genuine or authentic in contrast to commercialized self-help style. Okay. Within that, some people are focusing more on fully living their ideal as an example experiment in how far we can get away from where we are. Others focus more on easier things, more accessible, pieces that can be picked up quicker, but are less impactful. Well, that sounds cool. I like that. We do what we can do where we can do it. I said that before, and that's one of the reasons I'm not an echo asshole. I'm not criticizing people who can't do it all. I can't do it all. And we just do what we can do. So please do it. And you're the person who judges that. I'm not. And try to get help from people, but try also not to need much help. People who think they can't do anything on their own are wrong. And some of the greatest people just go and do it. And if other people follow and join in, great. But you got to take the chance sometimes. You got to be the leader. If you think that you're waiting around on somebody else or some support program to prop you up, well, get tougher. You know, and anybody who tells you you can't do it for some dumbass reason, well, if you listen to them, then you can't do it. They were right. And if you don't listen to them, if you think real hard, then maybe you can do it. It's really hard to do anything new. And everybody knows how difficult things are. But it's you. You are going to lead you to a better world. Geez, I should listen to that. I need a mirror up here. There's days when I'm discouraged as hell. So anyway, he continues. Within that, some people are focusing more on living their idea, blah, 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 blah. We read that. I hear you talk about the challenging aspects of your work, but also know you must think about your own pushing limits of lifestyle. And also doing that in a way that maximizes the value of thinning it out and making it more accessible. Curious your thoughts on this and where you feel your actions are best placed these days, given your experiences. Dude, I don't know. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Reality, whatever. I mean, reality is flexible. I don't know what my limits are. I passed my limits years ago. One guy asked me a long, long time ago, well, when are you going to quit? When are you going to give up? And, what money level was I going to give up when I had little enough? Because I came here with some, I didn't start this with nothing. And I passed that limit at some point, and I had less and less resources. And I guess I'm going to die doing this. I mean, I'm not going to give up. I can't imagine a world in which I'd be willing to give up. I would rather kill myself. And that doesn't mean I'm unhappy with the universe. It just means that, hey, it didn't work out, you know? But I'm giving everything I can. I'm giving this project everything I have, and I've gone beyond my limits. I'm scraping by at times. Currently I have dog food and chicken food. And when I don't have those two things, I start to freak out a little bit. So that's why I've started willingly saying to people, you got to donate if you like the project. I need it. And it goes a long way here. And before I was too proud to say that, you know, I come from kind of an odd background that I'm independent. You know, I give, I don't take, I don't receive. And I've given all my life. And that's one of the reasons I'm frustrated with people, because I've given a lot more than I've gotten and felt abused at times. It's my own fault. I allowed it, you know, and I've learned a lot from it too. So I don't discount that. It was my choice, but it's not sustainable, and it can't continue. And so you're hearing about those struggles, right, of survival. And the thing is, even above that, I have this kind of meta appreciation amidst a fair amount of desperation. I have this meta appreciation of what I'm going through and what I'm learning, because I do talk about the spoiled children industrial world, and I still include myself in that category, and others that I know. But you know, I still have the option. I can just leave. I could sell the place. The place has immense value now, or higher value than when I got here. But that would be failure. Also, if I die tomorrow, then it becomes avocado fields. That's total failure. It's everything around here is getting cut down. I'm right in the middle of deforestation here. My best option is to get rich real quick, or get a big sponsor or foundation and buy 2 pieces of property near me to protect a bigger blob of stuff. Because even though Bosque Village is big, it's not big enough to actually support what I'd like to see as wildlife. And also, I think I want to save more of it. It's just, I mean, you look at Google Maps and it's shocking. So, you know, that's such a big vision. I can't conceive of it. Right now, I'm at the state of just trying to get by week to week, and trying to produce more with less. I'm limping by with a bad camera. You know, it's educational, and that's when I talk about the meta aspect of it. Is it increases my empathy for people who have less, and increases my empathy and amazement when people from relatively little resources do amazing things. And I want to continue my efforts in helping that occur. So I have community projects here where people who care about the local economy in a very rural place, where there's nothing. And I used to provide people with projects and support their families, and now I'm not in a position to do that. It bums me out, because these are people who are awesome. I love this town. I feel more community here than anywhere in my life, and I feel an obligation to include them in part of the Bosque Village project in the ways that they can benefit, and I can benefit as well, and you can benefit. So in the past, I've trained them as teachers. I've trained them as artists. I got a great wood carver who learned here. That's very fulfilling for me that he learned to do that. And so people who are interested in community projects can realize that the economic difference gives them an opportunity to channel money into a rural location with awesome people, with really great families, and positively affect their lives. And you can watch some of that on video. In fact, most of it, you know. And so that's a message kind of for donors and people who know organizations like foundations and things, or nonprofits, is that this is an amazing opportunity to have this really honest, direct impact on something very real. And a lot of people, of course, are going to want to focus their interest on part of what the Bosque Village is. They might be more interested in the community aspect, or the agricultural aspect, or the intercultural mixing aspect for international relations or something. It's a diverse project. And so I guess I invite people to look at the project as it is and wonder what parts are they interested in. Because the reason people are confused by the project is because there's too much stuff that they're not interested in, really. Most people are kind of focused on something or other. That's totally fine. I get confused all the time because I'm trying to think about everything and how it all connects, and it hurts my head. Actually, it makes my head happy. But So yeah, that's that. So Leah just joined the chat. It's a long chat. She was here a long time ago, back when it first started, before I knew anything. I didn't speak Spanish. Everything was dirty, and they survived. But it wasn't comfy, and I didn't really have that much to offer. It was very early on. So anyway, thank you for coming at that time. And she and Eric came down. I think I actually met her at some kind of, I don't know, drama thing at the Microsoft or something. I don't know what it was. That was a long time ago. So hi. Well, it's not bad on the wrap up. We talked about finances. I do need to make some videos on the agricultural state of things. The short version is I did not do anything this year. I did less this year than any other year probably on agriculture. There was a forest fire. I didn't even replant that space. That was exciting though. Forest fires are always real interesting, which is one more huge to-do item is to make better fire breaks because the way I'm doing this, it actually, there's fire danger. And that's another reason to be cautious about having people here too, because people correlate with fire danger. So what I have to do is respond to that with structural solutions that make it harder to have fires rage through the forest. Because when they do that, it's kind of surprising. And unfortunately, with a certain number of people here, the statistical probability of a fire goes up really high. And so the structural solution to that is to make wider roads and to essentially start civilizing the space, putting in cob walls in some spots, especially having places planned for that. I think it's really important. Anybody who needs to take off, I'll see you later. Adios, Felipe. Yeah, that's probably it for me anyway. That was a nice chat, and I hope you enjoyed it. I think it becomes a video of some kind. Feel free to comment on whatever you want about it. I'll put a link under it or something to a place it's posted. Adios.